Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of Trojan Talk. I'm Jeff Christenberry alongside Cole Purvis and Zach Taranko. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Let's get right into it here today as we have our 9th episode. It's been a couple weeks, but we were kind of busy last week, so here we go. Welcome to anybody listening on Spotify and Apple. We have those on there, so hopefully you can listen in your car or wherever else you want as well. So let's jump into the football team playing Bangor last Saturday night. So there was a postponement from Friday to Saturday. Friday obviously Bangor had COVID issues, and Friday ended up being kind of a rainy, crappy night. So Saturday was probably the best in the end. Not much of a game as Thorne Academy goes out and scores 84 points, which is a record that I know of for points scored in the game. Bangor came in at 3-0, but obviously it wasn't too close. So first we'll talk to Zach. I mean, you were at the game, you covered it. What were some of the major takeaways that you took from that game?
Well, definitely that the Trojans came to play, and I don't think Bangor did. I think that defensively, Bangor struggled, and the Trojans played well, and the special teams is working. It's almost fantastic for the Trojans. They had 4 touchdowns, both punt returns and kickoff returns combined. So it was a great game for the Trojans, and I think that they played perfect all the way up to the second half when they started to put the subs in, and then they still scored more points. And so it definitely shows that some of the teams the records may not constitute where they are just because of who they've played. But, I mean, the Trojans have Bonnie Eagle and Oxford Hills coming up, so I think they'll have a little bit of a struggle. But it was definitely a fun blackout game just to score 84 points and have everybody there, and it was a fun night.
Now, Thorne Academy loses Bryant in the second game against Marshwood, and usually you'd be like, oh, what are we going to do? But they just kind of keep trucking along. Isaiah Jones comes back and has been just incredible, and he had a couple of those, at least one of those special teams touchdowns. What have you seen from him in the first couple weeks that he's been on there? What kind of dynamic he brings both on special teams and of course, as a wide receiver?
Well, he's definitely a strong receiver, and he's definitely a great special teams guy. He really likes to pump up his guys, and he's always kind of in the play. Even if he's not catching the ball, he's always going to be there. And I think it was like the perfect replacement for Bryant, and it worked out the right way, as you said. Bryant leaves, and then Isaiah Jones comes right back. So there wasn't, they didn't really have to stop and regroup. They just kept going and trekking through. And so it was a great, it just worked out perfectly for the Trojans. And I think that if they were to get Bryant back, I'm not sure how many more weeks that would be. It'd be a fantastic wide receiver core for the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know any details, but I have heard that his injury is not season-ending, so hopefully back. Now, Cole, you can certainly give your thoughts on the game itself, but we got to talk about the baby powder. It was even crazier than it has before. I saw some pictures. I wasn't able to go to the game, but what was the experience like there and on what you saw on the field, but of course off the field as well?
It was crazy. You couldn't see a foot in front of you at one point when everybody dumped it at the same time. It was it definitely got in my throat, hard to breathe, but it was super fun.
Now, I've heard, it's not just baby powder because people run out of baby powder, so they're doing,
cornstarch.
Flour. I saw foot powder. What is that? I mean, so here's the question. How coordinated is it? Did everybody say, oh, yeah, we're not going to throw it until the first touchdown or a certain time of the game? How does that work? Is there, a message that goes out to say, so it's not just a free-for-all at the start?
Yeah, they said at the beginning of the game to save it for the second half, but of course nobody did. And then at the start of the second half, I thought it was supposed to be the first score of the second half, but I guess the second half started and everybody just threw it up in the air, and it was craziness.
It's probably a snowball effect. One person does it, and then another person does it, and the underclassmen, the freshmen do it, and then
Yep.
But so Zach, you were actually not in the student section, down on the field. What did it look like from there? And did it waft towards the crowd, or did it go out to the field? What did it do?
Definitely looked a little different because it was going not towards the crowd but the other way, so you could just kind of see the huge cloud, and it was pretty crazy. I've never seen it like that. I did see some green and pink smoke, which I'm not sure where that was coming from, but lots of things, being thrown. And it was just crazy because you've got the younger kids who want to be a part of it, so they throw it early. I want to be the first one to throw it, and they throw it, and then you just see the start of the second half, and you just see it going crazy. And I just felt bad with people who just want to be there to watch, and the people in the student section who are there, and they know they're gonna get baby powder on them, but they're standing there and just get drenched in it.
It is the point now, I think, though, that if you go to that game, you know you're going to potentially get baby powder.
Yeah.
But other than that, Cole, what was it like being in the student section? It's always the one with the most fans. And what is it like having all those people cheering for TA, especially when the game, we scored a lot of points, obviously?
It's great. And I missed my freshman year, so I missed the "We Hate Freshmen" chants and all that. But, yeah, it's super fun.
You guys got lucky, at least you did, because the freshmen used to get, especially at the beginning of the year assembly, would get booed mercifully as they were released first, but didn't have to do it. No, obviously, we didn't have it last year or this year. So kind of wrapping up on football, Thornton Academy plays at Bonnie Eagle. It's always a huge game, state championship rematch from 2019. But Bonnie Eagle, on paper, does not look like as good as they've been in the years past. They almost lost to Kennebunk, a Class B school, and they lost to Oxford Hills. So, Zach, what are you looking for this week?
Definitely to dominate. That's what they want to do. And, Oxford Hills did beat Bonnie Eagle on the same day that they beat the Trojans beat Bangor. So it was not more of a shock, but just, okay, so Oxford Hills is now what looks like to be the team that we have to beat. And so I think that, if they can crush Bonnie Eagle, it'll be a great boost the team and the morale, just because, losing in the state championship to Bonnie Eagle was not very fun for them. So I think that it'd be great for them to win. I think they will win. They definitely want to keep working on all the things that they might make little mistakes on, because again, once playoff comes around, they don't want to make those mistakes, especially against teams like Oxford Hills or Bonnie Eagle.
And Bonnie Eagle, yeah, go for it.
I want to see if TA is going to put together some long drives now, because every time Anthony Jones or Isaiah Jones touches the ball, they're a threat to score. And so they're setting us up in great field position. Jack Emerson only had to throw 10 passes the other night. I believe 3 or 4 of them were touchdowns, and he completed 7 of them. So I think this team might have to, against a good Bonnie Eagle team, might have to put together some longer drives. It's not going to be these long touchdowns by Anthony Jones every time. So I'm interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, very interesting. And even though Bonnie Eagle's a little bit down this year, I mean, they're obviously very well coached, and anytime we go out to Standish, crazy things happen. One guarantee about that game, no cell phone reception. So if you're looking for updates on the Twitter feed, can't guarantee that, because the reception on Standish isn't great, especially for AT&T. Okay, so we're going to move on now to girls soccer. We had a girls soccer live stream on Tuesday. Girls soccer team's been rolling this year, 6-1. They come against Kennebunk last night and lose 3-0. Zach, you called that game. What was some of the? Just give a quick recap for those who didn't see it on the live stream.
That was a great game, and all the goals. Again, they had the third string goalie in, which would be the JV goalie, and all 3 of them, even the starters for varsity, are all freshmen. So it's definitely a young team, and Kennebunk came in 2-4, but again, the teams that they lost to were teams the Trojans haven't played to, and obviously they were a great team. Trojans struggled a little bit, defensively, and I remember Sydney Dumas for Kennebunk was so fast, like on the side, and they just couldn't stop it. And I think that the way the Trojans play is more of a 3-back, with the 4th back kind of playing up a little bit, which didn't seem to work versus Kennebunk. They give 3 goals. It wasn't bad. They played well. Being 6-2 isn't bad. I think that they definitely have a lot more games coming up, so they just got to keep moving through it. And it was fun to announce, and it wasn't a blowout, which we've had a couple of those on live streams this year. So it was a good game, but it's definitely not. There's still things to be proud of, and things to, say, hey, we did this well, and things we didn't do this well, so let's move forward and just keep winning games.
Yeah, 3-0 didn't really indicate how close the game was. I mean, Kennebunk didn't score until a few minutes ago in the first half, and then it just was. It really came down to defensive clearances, really, for TA on a corner kick, and then it's just kind of a scramble in front, and that's always tough. Well, we're going to have our special guest in here now. Mia-Claire Kezal is going to be joining us here from the soccer team, so let's talk to Mia-Claire. All right, now we're joined by senior captain for the girls soccer team, Mia-Claire Kezal. How you doing this morning?
Good. How about you?
Excellent. So we were just talking about last night's game against Kennebunk. You guys came in with a pretty good record. Kennebunk at 2-4, but obviously those records, or especially Kennebunk's record, didn't really indicate how well they played. And 3-0, we were saying, didn't really indicate how close the game was. But what was it like out there, and what was kind of the struggles to stop their attack?
I think it was just we were having a hard time finding each other last night. Our combinations weren't the best. When we got some passes going, we were able to get through their defense and find some shots. But overall, we just were a little off. Our energy wasn't as high as it usually was.
And you guys obviously had your third string goalie, we'll call it, but she seemed to play pretty well. And how confident were you going in that, even though there were some injuries to the first 2 strings, that she was going to do okay?
I was definitely confident in her because she could easily be our starting goalie. Our goalies this year, it was a tight race for who was going to be the varsity starter. So I had no doubts that she was going to keep us in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, you're a senior captain this year, and you're one of the only seniors on the team. What has it been like to be, one of the big leaders for this team that's, 6-2, but having a great run so far?
It's been awesome. The underclassmen are awesome. They're a lot of fun. I don't try to think of myself as just like I'm going to be the leader. Everybody needs to follow me. I try to incorporate everybody. It's been a lot of fun getting to know all these underclassmen as well.
What was the key to your 6-1 start? You guys have scored a lot of goals, but also not given many up. And what do you think was the team chemistry? Was it just really strong individual efforts? What do you think the key to that was?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, our underclassmen are really strong. They have done a lot for us, keeping us like in games for goals, and but it's also been the team chemistry. I feel like we're a really close team. We try to keep it positive. There's never any negativity, and I think that really helps everybody feel confident with what they're doing.
Excellent.
Last night we saw Quincy Tybalt had a great game, and she's obviously one of the freshmen on the team. What has it been like to kind of I talked about obviously trying to incorporate the younger freshmen, but what has it been like to work with new players that you've never really been with before that are just coming in and are new to the program?
It's been awesome, especially this year with our freshmen being a really strong class. At one point, I think we had 6 freshmen starting in a game, and I mean that says a lot about their skill. And then never being able to play with them, like Charlotte Belanger, I played with her sister, and then to be able to play with her as well, it's been awesome.
We've talked to every athlete, either last spring or this fall about the break, in terms of not really having a season last year. And what was that like coming back from going from a sophomore, basically? I mean, you played a little bit last year, to a senior and having a full season. What was that transition like for the first few weeks?
First few weeks, I wouldn't say it was a lot. It was just like, it's more things to do, which is awesome. There's no like boredom, I guess now. But it's been awesome to be able to get right back into the season and just go like be submerged right back into what it was like sophomore year.
What is it like, having? We'll talk more about soccer in a second, but we were talking about the football game the other night and baby powder. Where do you stand on the baby powder? How many bottles did you buy? How did you get dumped on? What was it like for you?
I did not buy any baby powder. It was a lot of fun though. This was my first blackout game of my high school career because of other things that had come up. So it was a lot of fun. It was a good atmosphere.
Yeah, sometimes I know the girls' soccer team has a kind of an opposite schedule of football. Sometimes they're not able to play. Yeah. Or go to it.
Yeah, so obviously you guys, had an unfortunate loss yesterday to Kennebunk, but moving forward, there's a lot of games left. What is your plan, your motivation for the rest of the season to try to have a playoff run?
Definitely. We'll find each other. We'll keep the energy, keep the good positivity, and then use this as motivation to say, like, let's go, Marcia, we're ready for you.
That's right. Let's talk about Coach Charlton for a minute. I graduated the same year as her, and she was a great soccer player then and at University of Maine too. But you guys not only, seem to have a lot of high energy, and that a lot of it comes from her, but your social media game as a team is pretty amazing. So what is it like having her coach you on a day-to-day basis?
I love it because after school, a lot of times people are tired. I mean, we're mentally drained from classes, but to have her high energy there, it really gets us going. To know that she was a student athlete too, and she understands sometimes the struggle of going right from classroom to the playing field. And so it's good that she understands that, but she's also there like, guys, we're here to play soccer, let's go kind of thing. So I love her energy. That really helps keep us going.
Now, there's a lot more travel teams now for young women and girls, for soccer especially. What have you noticed since you started playing soccer? What age did you start playing soccer, like on teams?
I think I started with like soccer pucks when I was 4.
Okay, so it's been a long time, right?
Yeah.
And so how is that? How's the game evolved? Have you noticed the level of play, both in club and in high school, raised over that time, considering there's so many more travel teams for girls now?
Yeah, definitely. I remember, definitely the jump from middle school to high school is a huge jump in itself. But with travel teams, I feel like it's a big jump from travel teams to high school as well, because with travel teams, I find that there's at least the team that I was on, there was a lot more cliques and stuff. In high school, we're all we're in it for each other, and we work more as a team. So I feel like, not saying that all travel teams are like that, because I know some girls have had really good experiences, but for me personally, I felt like high school, we had a lot more of a bond and we're more in it for each other.
Awesome. And last question, you're certainly not the only one, but I always ask, what is it like having a parent that works here? Especially a dean, which is a whole different thing than just a teacher that you may never see.
I don't know. I mean, I see my dad in the hallways. I'll say hi. I don't think it plays a huge role. Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in. You want to give a shout out to your social medias at all?
You can follow TA Girls Soccer on Twitter at TA Girls Soccer.
TA Girls Soccer.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, I want to thank Mia-Claire Kezal for coming in, and good luck to the girls soccer team. We do have a couple live streams coming up. You can check out at Trojan Sports on Twitter if you want to find out when those are going to be. Also want to give an update for this Thursday, which is the 30th at 7:15, girls field hockey versus Chevrolet. We'll be live streaming that as well. Zach will be on the call for that. What do you think of that game, Zach? I mean, field hockey's kind of have an up and down season. They lost a few, they won a few, but Chevrolet is always a team that gives them a little bit of fits.
Yeah, I know Chevrolet is a pretty young team as well, and I mean, I'd say field hockey's pretty young too. Not many seniors on the team, so that may be a big matchup. But being 4-4, this is the game. It's like you want to go be over 500. You want to start, moving forward with with your team and going into the playoffs. So it's definitely be a big game, and it's one of those late ones. So it'll be under the lights. It'll be a fun one for the Tiago field hockey team.
And I said before, field hockey, all their home games are like different times, like between 6:30, 7, 7:15, 7:30. But and Cole, let's talk a little bit of golf just real briefly. You guys are the varsity team's rolling right now. Another win yesterday against Wyndham. What is it? The thing about that season is so fast. Like you guys are already thinking about practicing at Natanis, which is where the state meet is. But what have you seen from the guys, especially some of the guys like Eduardo up front that they've just been rolling this year?
They're crazy good, and the thing about the varsity team is it's so competitive. So every practice is basically a qualifier for the next match, and you'll see some guys go from like top 3 or top 4 to being out of the next match. So they're really competitive in practice, and they have a really good team, and whoever they put out there, they have a great chance to win.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think next week we're going to be featuring either the boys soccer team or the golf team, so keep an eye out for that. All right, moving on to NFL football. That's kind of like the main talking point for the next couple months. We take a look at the AFC North and the Nfc West race. Those are the two divisions that people would probably argue are the two best divisions, most deep. What do you think, Zach, after this weekend worth of results? Baltimore obviously, having some kind of crazy victory against the putrid Lions. But what do you see in the AFC North this year?
It's pretty crazy. I'm surprised Pittsburgh is so low, and I think the question is are the Bengals going to stay up at in the top of that race? And I think it's going to be really close up until the end, just because the divisional matchups are going to be so close. Cleveland playing Baltimore and Cleveland playing all those teams and Pittsburgh and all that. So it'll definitely be fun to watch. And I'm not surprised that Roethlisberger is struggling this year so far. I think that you're seeing a lot of teams switch just because of they were good last year, now they're struggling this year. And I think that'll be a fun division to watch in the AFC.
Cole, so I know you're a lot big into fantasy. Talk about your biggest surprise so far, fantasy-wise, and your biggest surprise positive and biggest surprise negative for players so far this year.
Well, I would say the biggest surprise so far, Mike Williams is a wide receiver from the LA Chargers. And their offensive coordinator said before the season that they're going to use him like he did with Michael Thomas in New Orleans. I didn't even know that he said that. Nobody believed him, but Mike Williams is playing out of his mind right now. He's, I believe, top 2 in fantasy receivers. And negatively, I would just say Jonathan Taylor. He was a second-round pick in fantasy for most people. And Naheem Hines, his backup, is taking a lot of pass-catching work, so he's not getting a lot of carries, so that's been disappointing if you own him. Which
I do. He was my top option guy in one of my leagues, and it's just like he's not even having trade value right now, so hopefully. And the Colts aren't playing well anyway, so that doesn't help as well. The NFC West, you see the Rams took care of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Seattle Seahawks, though, what's going on with them? They're 1-2 now. They just don't look great, and their defense certainly isn't having much of an effect. I mean, it's been a long time since the Legion of Boom, but even their offense right now under Russ he's not playing poorly, but doesn't seem they have much else going on.
I don't know which one to be more frustrated about. It's the loss to Tennessee, being up in that game, or just losing to Minnesota with I wouldn't say a huge margin, but 13-point margin is still pretty big. And I think that's they're struggling offensively and defensively. They're just it's not ever been a fantastic, and so there's not much to expect from them. It's a great division this year with Matthew Stafford, in LA and Arizona playing well, and San Francisco being a strong team. So it's one of those divisions where someone is going to have to be in the bottom, and it may be one of the better teams just because of who they're playing. And I would say that Seattle's had some pretty decent games, but the Rams beat Tampa Bay, so they're definitely deserving of that 3-0 record and being up top of that division.
Who do you think is going to win? I think we all assume that the Rams are going to win that division. At least they have the best chance. Who do you think will finish second?
I think the 49ers will. I think Jimmy G is going to stay in for most of the season, and they're going to keep doing red zone packages for Trey Lance. But this defense is still really good. It's not quite the 2019 San Francisco defense, but their offense, they have a lot of weapons, and they almost just beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So I think they'll come in second place. And with Seattle, I just think they need to run this offense through Russell Wilson. Just keep it close to the fourth quarter and let him make a play. Last season, they did that in the first half of the season, and then the second half, teams caught up to them. So I think they're in danger of finishing last in this division because, the Cardinals are 3-0, the Rams are 3-0, and they haven't played any of these divisional teams yet. The Vikings game is a game you have to win if you want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, don't sleep on the Cardinals either. I don't know. They're one of those teams so far that don't look that great, but they keep winning games somehow. And Kyler Murray, I avoid him in fantasy every year because I'm like, there's no way that they're going to let him do the same thing he does and run around. But so far, he has.
Yep.
Speaking of contenders, let's talk about 4 teams that are surprising a lot of people. And basically, you can tell me you think if they're frauds or if they're actual contenders. That's the Panthers, the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Bengals. I'll go first. I think the Panthers could be for real. I just think they're well coached, and I've always thought Sam Darnold could be a decent NFL quarterback. The Jets are just a dumpster fire, no matter who they have at the helm there. So I think the Panthers, though, without McCaffrey, we'll see. Hopefully, just a few weeks if you're an owner of his. The Raiders, I think. The only thing that could stop the Raiders, I think, is their coach and Gruden. And I don't know. He hasn't seemed. I thought of Gruden and Mayock, that kind of combination. I think Mayock has done the worst job of the two, and he was on the chopping block this year. If if they wouldn't do well, but I just think Derek Carr could be serviceable. I think they have some a decent defense as well. I think they could pose a threat, not to Kansas City in division, but definitely for a wild card. The Broncos, they have beat the worst 3 teams in the NFL, so good for them. A win's a win in the NFL, but they could still finish 6-12 or whatever, 6-11 or whatever. And then the Bengals, again, they're a couple years away. It's nice to see them. Jamar Chase playing well and Joe Burrow. I think everyone likes Joe Burrow. I think in terms of he thinks he can be a decent quarterback in the NFL. But I think of those 4 teams, I think the ones who can make the deepest run are the Raiders because I think they have talent on there. The Panthers could, but they're hurt by their division because New Orleans is decent and Tampa obviously that's probably 2 losses there. So what do you think? What do you guys think?
Well, I think the Raiders, it's been good to see them run this offense through Derek Carr. He's never really been able to unleash his arm like this. They have a bad offensive line. They have really no run game now. Jacobs has been hurt, and so I think it's just been good to see Derek Carr show what he can do. And this defense wasn't strong coming into the season, but things are working out, and they're 3-0. And the Broncos, like you said, I don't expect them to be that great. They're a team that's a couple years away. They still need to fix the quarterback situation. And the Panthers, Sam Darnold's a talented quarterback. He has a lot of weapons around him. McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, the rookie. I think that team could sneak into the playoffs. And I think there are a lot of surprises so far this season.
I agree mostly. I think that you have to look at who they're playing. Again, Denver's played Jacksonville, the Jets, and the Giants, and they've played well in those games. Just those aren't the greatest teams. I disagree with the quarterback. I think Teddy Bridgewater's a decent quarterback. They're never gonna be a Super Bowl team, but it's a pretty mediocre team. I wouldn't expect them to land in the playoffs, but. I really think the Raiders are just got lucky. I think that you're right. I think Gruden's going to get overconfident, and they're going to start playing like they're some big shot team, and then they're going to start struggling, and it's going to be like Gruden the last couple of years. So I think that I think Carolina might get a wild card spot. I just think that the Saints aren't ready for the playoffs. I don't think Jameis Winston's ready either. But right now you can. In the NFC, you can basically see who's there and who's not there. But you'll definitely have to wait until week 6 or week 7 until you start getting that break. Because right now it's like a lot of teams are 2-1, a lot of teams are really even. So you gotta wait a couple more weeks.
And I'd like to give a shout out to my Super Bowl pick from the NFC. The Rams are playing really well.
It's early yet.
And my MVP pick, Matt Stafford's playing pretty well. So.
Okay, I could see that. All right, we'll see by the end of the year if that comes to fruition. I'm starting to come around a little bit. I still think Tampa will turn it on in the second half.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tampa, we certainly can't go through this episode without talking about Sunday. Patriots, Buccaneers, biggest game of the regular season in maybe decades.
Oh, jeez.
Not so much the game itself because the Patriots are going to get waxed. So you're not a Patriots fan. We'll start with you because your opinion doesn't really matter on this one because you're not a Patriots fan. But what? First of all, there's no comparison of someone coming back to a Falcons game like that. But what do you? If you were a Patriots fan, how would you feel on Sunday if you were there? We'll talk about the 2 things: it's pregame and the hoopla, and then the actual game itself. What would you do?
I would get really excited and really amped up. I think that if the Patriots were able to win, this would go down as one of the greatest games in history. Mac Jones takes down Tom Brady. I think that it's going to be a slaughter. The Tampa Bay is going to destroy the Patriots, but people like I knew that the Patriots book just dropped the other day. Like the whole thing with Bill Belichick is like, oh, is Brady really that good if he doesn't have Belichick? And I think that he is, but I think that Belichick had some kind of play in that. But I'd be excited if I was a Patriots fan. I'm not really that excited. I don't really care.
You'll watch it though. It's gonna be the biggest. Yes, you will. It's gonna be the biggest, the most highly rated regular season game in NFL history.
Well, I'll be the one person
for at least
who's
the
not
first
watching
half,
it.
and then after that, when the Bucs are up 31-3. All right, what about for you, Cole?
I mean, I can't even begin to imagine being Tom Brady and coming out of the visitors' locker room in Gillette Stadium. But the game, I'm really worried it's going to be a blowout. I mean, the Bucs' run defense is too good, and we like to run the ball. We're not going to be able to do that because we're going to be down most of the game, and our receivers aren't good enough for their secondary.
That's why I'm nervous because their secondary isn't great, the Bucs. That's their weakness. But, I mean, with Jonnu Smith playing like garbage last week and Bourne and Aguilar playing all right, but it really comes down to protection. I mean, the offensive line, if they can't protect Mac Jones, I mean, he had 3 picks the other day, but, I mean, he was absolutely mauled the whole day by the defensive line. So I'm going to the game. And I'm definitely going to cheer for Tom 100% before the game, like whenever he comes out. Now, I'm worried, though, because he's talked a lot about, well, it's just another game. And I know he has to say that, but I'm hoping there's something pregame because, first of all, if it's after the game, who knows if I'm maybe going to stay there if the game is a total blowout. Yeah. But they should do something. I mean, hopefully, and I'm really excited. Then during the game, I hope he throws a pick 6 on the first play. I mean, that would just be crazy.
I think he's gonna get booed. I think he's legitimately gonna get booed really hard.
80% will cheer for him. Oh, during the game, like here's the thing. I don't think anybody's gonna boo him, but if he does something bad during the game, you're gonna hear bigger cheers than you ever would. That's the thing. It's not gonna be like, oh, boo, Tom. It's like, oh, he throws a pick. Yes, that's right. That's what you get. Well, yeah,
it's what's more important to them. It's seeing Tom Brady, come back, and it's like, oh, it's so nice and awesome. Like when Chara came back and played the first game back in Boston with fans, or is it gonna be, let's go Patriots, like let's take down Tampa and show Brady, who's there's a trade there and left us, like that. Is that
first quarter? It's going to be insane. That's usually when it's the most excited. Yeah. So we'll see. I'll have a full report next week. I won't be in on Monday because I'm probably going to get home at like 3 a.m. So next week we'll talk about it. Hopefully Patriots keep it close, but I'm thinking it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be as big a blowout as I think it's going to be like 31-17. But it's not going to be even.
I would love to see a good game, even if they lose like up until the fourth quarter. I think that'd be pretty cool.
All right, we're going to do quick fire on 2 things before we head out of here. NHL preseason starting, Zach. What are your thoughts on that? I know that your dad has some tickets coming up to a game.
Going to Saturday
game.
Taking you? Yep. He's a Rangers fan, so it'll be fun to kind of go back and forth with him. But I'm excited. Preseason's back. I love watching hockey, and it's definitely great for them to have a full preseason because last year they didn't have that. And it's definitely going to be a great year having all 82 games, and they're back to you can travel to any teams, not just their own division. And I'm excited.
Cool. And I just want to give a quick update on the Ryder Cup because I went to the Ryder Cup the other day over the weekend, and it was a really interesting experience. So the U.S. dominates Europe 19-9 as the final score. I had tickets on Sunday. I saw Morikawa. I was really close when Morikawa hit the putt on 17 to clinch the last half point, guarantee the last half point. Just in general, I would say golf tournaments are really interesting to go to. You have to walk a ton. You stand a ton. There's a lot of time you're not watching any action. But the craziest thing is these guys are tiny. Besides Bryson, he's a monster.
Yeah.
These guys are tiny, like Justin Thomas, Patrick Cantlay, like those guys, and they just crush the ball. It was a really cool experience. I don't know if I'll do it again. It was out in Whistling Straits, Wisconsin. Milwaukee was pretty cool, but Bryson DeChambeau was insane. We were at the first tee when he hit the green, and he's growing on me a little bit. I thought, him and Brooks Koepka, I was total team Brooks, but now I'm like, I'm a little back on the train for both of them. All right, last question, Cole, as we wrap up. Favorite snack to eat on a football Sunday? Let's just say that you're at home, so you can't go out to Buffalo Wild Wings or something. At home, you could have anything. What would you have and why?
I would have wings. Easily the best food. They're so good. They make watching football better.
Your favorite flavor? What would you say? You a real spice guy, or do you like the Parmesan or the teriyaki? What do you like?
Yeah, I like spicy wings. I do. Yeah.
Zach, what about you?
Buffalo chicken dip.
Buffalo chicken dip.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a good one too. I make a really good buffalo chicken dip.
Yep. It's nice. It's not. I like mine a little hot, but not super duper hot. I want one that I can enjoy when I'm eating and not feel like it's super hot. But definitely I'll do that all the time. I'll make one and then me and my dad just sit there and eat the whole thing. It's crazy.
The only problem with wings, they're really tough to make at home really well. Like you can cook them, you can bake them in the oven. They're not the same. But if you can get some fried wings, they're pretty amazing. So yeah, I would say buffalo chicken dip, also a French onion dip that you can get out of the soup containers, the Lipton soup, French onion soup. All you do is add sour cream. That's my go-to for game day, and on Sunday I'll be bringing that for sure. on that. So, all right. Any last thoughts on the week of sports?
Nope.
You guys want to give a shout out to your socials as well? You got a Twitter feed going on.
Zach Tarenko, TATV. I just update kind of sports. I also want to give a shout out to one of my buddies, Robert Doherty, who's at Franklin Pierce University, and he was doing a couple of girls soccer live streams for Franklin Pierce, which is pretty cool, and it's nice to see him out there and enjoying that. So, in college, which is great.
Awesome. Any shout outs?
Just Cole Purvis on Instagram. That's it.
All right, keep it simple. All right, well, thanks very much, guys. So next week we'll have either golf or boys soccer profiled. We'll talk about TA Bonnie Eagle football and some other TA sports and see how Tom Brady's welcome came back. I hope he doesn't get hurt in the next 3 days. All right, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later on Trojan Talk.